Welcome to I'll Be There, the ultimate wedding podcast by Priya
and Nim
from Pristine Events. Whether you're a bride-to-be
or a groom gearing up
or just a wedding lover at heart, we've got you. Welcome back to another episode of I'll Be There with Priya
and Nim.
And today we are speaking all about DJs, music, and how to make your wedding as vibey as possible.
Sounds like a good topic.
Yeah. So I feel like I don't know where to start with this episode. I'm thinking, shall we start with why music is important and generally like creating a vibe is important?
Yeah.
I think
sounds like a good place to start.
A lot of the time people always associate music just with the actual reception and like the after dinner bit, but actually music plays a really vital part throughout the whole day.
Yeah, it sets the scene, it creates ambience.
Yeah.
That goes for your civil ceremony. You might have an organ playing, you might have a string quartet playing. It goes for your drinks reception as well. You might have a live musician, a saxophonist.
I don't know.
Saxophonist.
Yeah.
A pianist. At your Hindu ceremony, you might want to have, I think you should have.
Agree.
Music in the background. Doesn't have to be live, but a DJ or somebody playing music in the background. It just sets the scene. Because otherwise it can feel a bit flat, I think.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part, every wedding that we do has music of some sort in the background.
Yeah.
Even if it's an iPad in the background that we're having to control.
Yeah. Although I do always get stressed when we're doing the music controls, just making sure it's all like...
Yeah, but that's because there's like always like a speaker that like has like the wrong jack for it.
Yeah.
And doesn't connect to Bluetooth.
Yeah.
And there's always that worry. And the other worry that your sister's also connected to my Spotify. And she might suddenly start playing
Didn't that
Amy
happen
Winehouse.
once?
Not when the reception actually started, but I think in the background she was playing. I had to message her and be like, don't go on the Spotify.
So we need to actually make sure she doesn't log into your Spotify anymore for this wedding season.
Get her own Spotify account.
I think she likes sharing with you.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, because actually if you think about it, if you go to these weddings or go to these events and there's no music, it's really hard. It's harder to get in your feels.
Yeah.
Whereas when you see the bride walk in and there's a really emotional song, or like, especially when you time it, and if you have Pristine, we time it on point where she walks in at the same time as the chorus or the bridge or whatever it is, the emotions that it creates is insane for all ceremonies.
Yeah.
Hindu ceremonies, civils, like whatever it is. Equally the same for a drinks reception. If you've got vibey music, people are more likely to drink, to chat, to like get ready to party. So I wouldn't underestimate how much music can impact your day.
Yeah, it's funny because even this week, right, we had a call with one of my friends who's planning her wedding for next year.
Oh yeah.
And she was talking about the priest who's conducting the Hindu ceremony, saying that, he has to come with his own production person or person playing music in the background, which she felt was a bit extra. And I might have thought that maybe 5 years ago or before we got into the industry or even before our wedding. But actually now, having somebody who pairs well with the priest and knows the priest's ceremony,
yeah,
I think it's great. And it's a bit expensive, but if you can afford it in your budget, it just changes the atmosphere completely. And they're generally very good, especially if they work with the priest regularly.
Yeah.
Because they update their library or their catalogue quite a lot.
Yeah.
And it just fits.
Yeah. And they get all the key iconic moments and stuff.
And also makes it easier for us because then we don't have to cue someone or press play, pause.
Yeah. Yeah, and also I've noticed when you have music changing and it like the pace changing and stuff, guests pay attention more. They're not talking through because they're almost like watching, not a production because that feels like it takes away from the wedding, and that's definitely not the feel, but I just feel like they're more engaged and they're really in awe and they really are taking in the feeling. So
it's almost the opposite of what you might think, actually, because I don't know, if you think about it, like if something's happening on stage and there's music could theoretically drown out the sounds of the crowd.
Yeah.
But actually the music makes you more engaged with what's happening in front of you.
Yeah, no, exactly that. So a lot of recently I feel like people have asked us, do we need a wedding DJ?
Yeah.
And I always say yes. Like, you definitely need music. I would recommend not just doing it on an iPad. I'd recommend actually having someone there who can time it and mix it, because with an iPad all you can do is fade in and fade out. You can't mix from one song to the other, and also who's in charge of that? If
it's one of us, then that's one of us who then can't do anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that music is playing throughout the whole ceremony.
Yeah. And we're stuck by the speaker, which means there's one of us down. And also if you don't have a coordinator, then who's doing it? Is it a family member? Are they going to know what to do? At least we've seen hundreds of ceremonies, so we know at least the key points. But if it's a family member, they may not be familiar with it, and it just puts an extra level of stress. So
and sometimes that family member, it might as well just be us, because if we're having to prompt the family member at every point, then we might as well just be doing it ourselves, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. So anyway, I don't know how we got into this, but I think the the first thing is think about where you want music in your day. And like we
Yeah.
just said, I think if you can have it in your budget, have it throughout. And even if you can't, have an iPad, have something. In terms of deciding what kind of music, what's your thoughts on deciding between live musicians versus DJs? Like, do you have a preference?
Yeah, I mean, I think you need a DJ. I think even a live band, I think bands are amazing. I think they're like incredible. I think they create such an atmosphere. They can really control the crowd, especially the good ones, get everybody standing. I mean, I probably, again, wouldn't have said this a few years ago,
I was
but
going to say,
having
you
been to
really
so many weddings,
anti-band before.
both as a guest and kind of being part of the planning process of weddings, having a band just really elevates the crowd. The only thing I would say is that it takes a really specific band and a really specific crowd to be able to do that throughout the whole night, up until 1 a.m. Normally bands, or often bands, come with their own DJ. My view is that those DJs sometimes, I think, match the band a bit more, which isn't a bad thing, but then it's kind of the same sort of style of what the band is playing. I prefer to kind of have the DJ playing music of the songs that you would want, and that might be like a separate team completely. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I kind of get what you mean. If you've got a band that's doing more like Motown, old school, then the DJ might. But I think it's a conversation to have.
Yeah.
Because you've got to balance, I suppose,
the cost
of
having because
a
most of them will
separate
come with a
team.
DJ and they'll be like, oh, in between sets, because they'll need to have something. They're not going to play throughout the whole night. They'll play sort of 2-hour sets or 1 hour sets with breaks in between. I mean, I think, you know, it comes down to budget, a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I think you need a DJ at the very least.
Yeah.
I think gone are the days where people are playing music for the wedding or the reception from their iPads or from a speaker. You need to have a DJ.
Yeah.
And I think if you can get a band, get a band.
Yeah.
I just think it's such a cool way to enter the reception. Or even for the drinks reception, they can be playing like part of the band can be playing for that, and then when the drinks reception finishes and they come in for the actual seated meal, having a band playing just kind of really elevates the crowd.
And keep it a surprise if you do. Like, don't tell lots of people, so that when they walk into the reception and you have the band playing, it's like a additional wow. Like the one that we're doing this weekend is like a 13-person band at the Langham, which I think will be
like
so sick. Yeah, literally like an orchestra. Because for the couple, that was their priority. Like, they love music, they love live music, so a big chunk of their budget went on a really big production band, and I think it will be amazing when guests first enter to have them singing. So I think exactly as you said, look at your budget and look at your priorities. This goes back to our initial few episodes where we talked about what your priorities are, and if music, entertainment, vibe is a priority for you, then obviously spend more on that. What I will say is, you don't necessarily need to have, if you want to have live music, you don't necessarily need to have it for all parts of your day if you're trying to stick to budget. So I know some people will have string quartets, like you said, for the ceremony, for the drinks reception. We've seen quite a lot of like singers, but not in a band, like either by themselves or them and a guitarist, a bit more acoustic, which is quite nice. Or you could go full on for the reception and have a big production. So I think just figure out, if you've got a smaller budget, then maybe have it for the ceremony or for the drinks reception, and then just have a DJ for the reception.
Yeah.
When picking your DJ, I'd really like to emphasize this point and say, especially if you're only having a DJ, there's no other type of music that you're having, please don't skimp out and just go for the cheapest DJ that you found online, that you've never had an experience with, that you haven't seen play at a wedding or an event, because we've worked with a few that are like that.
And I think some people, just go online and just find a DJ who plays music or songs, or their repertoire, or their SoundCloud might have a few of the songs they're familiar with. But actually, if you haven't seen that DJ play live, it changes everything completely. Like sometimes you can't even put your finger on it. I'm sure DJs or people in the music industry watching this will know what that kind of thing is. But, you know, we come back from a reception sometimes and we're just like, I don't know what it was, but it wasn't working.
Like it didn't slap.
Yeah. And then that might be the crowd.
Yeah.
Partly the crowd. But again, it's the DJ's responsibility or their ability to kind of bounce off the crowd and understand what the crowd want.
True.
And that's what keeps the crowd alive.
I do think sometimes, and we've seen it, you just have really dead crowds, and there is nothing. The DJ can be sick, the decor can be sick, the cocktails can be sick, but the vibe is just not there because the crowd, for some reason, I don't know why, aren't on the dance floor.
Yeah.
To the point where we have to be like, do you want to get up? Do you want to go on the dance floor? Because nothing breaks my heart more than seeing an empty dance floor and it's like 9:30 and I'm like, this isn't going to last till 1 a.m.
Yeah.
But going back to the point about not picking a cheap DJ is, in your head when you initially book, you're like, it's fine, I can just get anyone to play music. But we've had experience, and you know who I'm thinking, like that the day that I'm thinking of, where I don't know, it was some sort of like cowboy DJ, never heard of them before, didn't have any idea what they were doing, didn't have any idea of, had been asked to do the ceremony music, had no idea whatsoever, like didn't even have the songs even though they'd been sent to him, had to prep
His
him.
AV system switched it off like just before the bride was about to do her entrance.
Yeah.
Didn't bring the right mics for the civil ceremony.
Then we tried to brief him Sahani was briefing him for the civil ceremony and was like, this is the plan, these are the bridesmaids walking in, and then you're going to change songs to this, and then mum and dad are going to walk in.
Sorry, I think I zoned out.
Yeah, he was like, sorry, can you say that again? I just kind of like zoned out for a bit, and I was like, oh, like, and even if, and don't get me wrong, that's not me saying don't go for new DJs or people that are trying to break into the industry. That's fine. Everyone has to start somewhere. But you would think, if that was the case in this case, you would really like, you know, prep, give it your all, like be really organized. Like, I don't know what he was doing, but that was really stressful for us because I had to stand behind the DJ booth for half of the reception because I couldn't just, normally with a good DJ, I'll be like, look, this is the plan, can you do this? I'll give him a little nod and it will be done. That wasn't happening that day. So I stood behind that DJ booth, and then he went to put the dry ice on. And
he's like shouting over the dance floor to ask one of the live musicians if they can switch on the
dry
machine,
ice, yeah.
the dry ice machine.
And then forgot to get venue clearance. So the whole thing. So anyway, my point is, please don't skimp on a DJ. They don't just play music. They're a vital part of your day. They will create the vibe.
I don't even know how they found him though. Like,
I have no idea.
His socials on his Instagram, it looked like it was like filmed with a potato. It was like from like 20 years ago.
I have no idea. I had so many questions. Yeah, and even then, with the whole, again, when you think about a DJ, we'll go into this. There's so much to talk about here. We're going to have to split this up over a few different episodes. But again, it's not just the music. It's also, can they host and bring the vibe? Because with this DJ that we were talking about, couldn't host, kept saying the same word, made me die.
But I mean, that's just while we're on that topic. Like, your DJ doesn't need to be able to host, but if they know they can't host, they should accept that they can't host and then also factor in a host into their costings.
Yeah.
Like, that shouldn't be your responsibility to find a host, unless you're getting a physical host, as a completely separate thing who walks around the dance floor, either a friend or one of these hosting companies. I'm talking about the people who shout in the background and say, you know, hype up the crowd, but then also say, starters are being served, the dance floor's open, the dance floor's closed, etc. That, if the DJ isn't able to do that himself, they'll normally organise for somebody to be part of their team. So he'll kind of just do the DJing side of things. And there's loads of really good DJs who can't do the hosting, and maybe that's just because they're so focused on things, and it's probably a completely separate talent to be able to do both, right?
Yeah. And a lot of DJ companies, they say, like, this person's your DJ and this person's your host or MC. Yeah. So they sometimes do bring two, and that's just factored into the cost. But also don't underestimate having a hype person and someone to get the crowd going and stuff. Like, it's actually quite hard. Like, it looks easy because they're just being like, yeah, come on, did it, or I don't know, whatever they say. That'd be the worst. I'd be so bad.
Dance.
I'd be so cringe, wouldn't I? But yeah, like, they actually do make a massive difference. So I think just bear that in mind. So how do you pick your DJ then? Like, how do you find one?
Yeah, good question. I think as a couple, you need to decide what sort of music you guys like between you. But then I think, you might disagree with me on this, but I think you also need to be aware of like what your crowd will like, because you two could be into like punk rock or country music, but that isn't really going to fly if you've invited 300 guests who just listen to R&B.
True, but I also think then your wedding is also a representation of you guys as a couple. Okay,
but then it goes back to what you said earlier about having a flat crowd. The crowd are the people who are going to bring the energy on the dance floor. It's not just going to be you two on the dance floor. Yeah, if it was, then why don't you just have a private ceremony in your garden?
True. But then I think that's when you have to mix, and you say your interests. But then if you have a very niche interest, then you obviously say that. But then you say, also, can you play some generic music? Yeah,
I mean, I think most people... some people who aren't massively into music, they'll probably just ask their friends who they used, or they would have remembered who their friends used for their DJ, and then either inquire with that company or inquire with that DJ specifically, and then just pick them. A lot of people, I think, just go onto Instagram, look at other people's weddings that they've seen, and then just look at who's been tagged, have a call with the people, see who they get the best vibe from. It's funny because I feel like now that we've been in the industry for a fair amount of time, we know who like our preferences are for DJs and who the best DJs are, or at least the DJs that we like. But when you're actually in that moment, you've never planned a wedding before. And these DJs aren't famous, probably. They're not famous to you outside of the wedding industry. It's only when you're in the industry that you know, like, who are the bait people.
Yeah.
but you won't know that if you're not in the industry.
Yeah, true. I actually think it's really hard to pick
Yeah.
a DJ like off of Instagram.
Yeah.
Because I think they like everyone that their reels are going to be 30 seconds of them with a vibey crowd, which is great. But actually, you need to hear how do they mix? What's their proportion?
And also,
of...
sorry to cut you off, but also the reels sometimes don't actually have the music that they're playing
Yeah, that's what I
because of the
mean.
licenses.
Yeah,
So they've just played some other track over the top of it.
Yeah. They'll put like a trending Instagram
Yeah.
song and then it'll just be them vibing out, which is great. You can see they can hold a crowd. But actually what you need to see is what kind of music do they play? How do they, if you are having an Asian wedding or if you are even having a fusion wedding, how do they mix the different types of songs? Like,
Yeah.
because, you know, it's important if they're like playing 90% Asian music, but actually you want only 10% Asian music, you need to have a DJ that can meet your needs in that sense. So I think Instagram's a really difficult like way to try and find people, but it's a good starting point. I think,
Yeah.
like you said, speak to your friends, and I think really importantly, if you can try and experience them, like if you've seen them at a wedding or anything like that, I think that really helps for you to get a good understanding. On the Zoom calls with them, there's so much to ask, but I think the main things would be to ask about what genres they do. And actually quite often the owner of the company or whoever you do the consult with
Yeah.
will then match you up with a DJ who they think will suit your needs.
Yeah, I think this comes down to whether you're finding individual DJs on Instagram. And I think for the most part, there aren't that many independent wedding DJs. Most
Yeah.
of them work for a company, and that company is normally an AV production company. And so then you often have to go through them. And then they say, okay, cool, X person is available. But then, like you said, they might also be able to recommend other people who fit a certain other type of genre that you might want.
Yeah. We'll go on to AV production in a different podcast because I feel like there's loads to cover.
Oh, I
with
actually
that.
wanted to talk about that.
We
but
can talk on it, but I
Yeah.
feel like just even explaining to people, like I feel like I have to explain to couples, like newly engaged couples, be like, what is AV in production? Do you need it, etc., etc. Because it kind of ties in with music, but it's also different.
Yeah.
It also kind of ties
and also
into
the scope
decor.
of what they offer, right?
Yeah.
Like all these big production companies, like you would never think outside of the wedding industry that your DJ/AV company is providing the vinyls for the front of the bar,
Yeah.
like the print work for the front of the bar. Like
Yeah.
why would they do that? That's so random, but
Yeah.
they all seem to do it.
Yeah.
And those are the people who do it for. It's not your decor team.
Yeah. No.
Same with your dance floor. Same with your signage.
Yeah.
It's mad.
And as a planner, actually, it's great that a lot of DJ companies, bigger ones, are doing that because it's kind of then relying on less individual suppliers to bring
everything
together.
exactly. Because a
espe-
lot of them do it in-house, right, in their printing room.
Yeah, especially if you've already got loads of suppliers on board. If you can try and group them together, that definitely makes it much easier. How did we get onto production? So I think having a look at production companies and then seeing what DJs they use. But I would say, like for us, for our wedding DJ, for our Indian wedding, we obviously it's different because we did it abroad, but we still would have probably used him here.
Yeah.
But he isn't part of a big company. He's an independent DJ, but we love his music. It's
Shout out to DJ Earth.
yeah.
Earth_DJ.
So I don't even know his handle off by heart. But anyway, incredible DJ, so talented. The way he mixes, the way he got our vibe, the way he did both of our cultures, like Punjabi and Tamil, like
Yeah.
music.
See, that was a risk though. So that us picking him
yeah,
was on the basis of the opposite of what we've just
Yeah.
discussed. Like
Yeah.
we didn't know anything about him.
Yeah.
We listened to his SoundCloud. I think he'd done some music for like Pretty Little Thing or like some
Yeah.
event that he had done, and we just thought, okay, it sounded good. But again, because we didn't know anything about
Yeah.
the industry or who's good or who's not good, you just
Yeah.
find somebody who makes some good music. But hats off to him, man, because he was incredible, and
Yeah.
also was able to, whilst not being Punjabi
yeah,
or Tamil, he was able to incorporate both. Like send him a few songs, he'd find his own songs. Like it was, yeah.
no, exactly that. And I think if you do have like individual DJs that are independent and not part of these big companies, don't feel afraid that they're not gonna create the same vibe or they're not as good because they're not part of a big company. Sometimes you can have amazing independent DJs, but it just means you have to source the AV separately, or sometimes
Yeah.
they will source it separately via one of these big companies and they'll just sort it all out for you. So don't be put off if there's a specific DJ that you have in mind that you want. Even for the Bodrum wedding that we're doing, they're not picking like a really big one. It's a very independent DJ that kind of does a lot of like beach clubs and that kind of vibe because they love that kind of music. So I think you have to figure out what you like. When you do speak to the DJs though, after finding out what music they like to play, how they split it, if they come with a host, how many meetings you'll have with them, etc. Can they provide AV in production, or is that separately? I think a good thing, and I know you're going to think I'm extra and you thought I was extra for doing this.
Me? You think you're extra?
I know. But anyway, I think you should give them, and most DJs, to be fair, these days ask for this, but I think you should give them songs you like list. I don't
disagree with that. It's the bit that follows that I disagree with.
So songs you like list. Then if you're having cultural songs, then have like a list of like, so we gave a list of Punjabi songs, a list of Tamil songs. And I personally think it's important to have a list of songs that you don't like and songs that you don't want played. Because some songs really give me the ick. Like I didn't want, like, what's that Shawty Get Low song? Apple Bottom Jeans song.
Shawty Get Low.
Yeah,
low,
that song.
low.
Gives me such an ick. Didn't want that playing out.
What was the other one? Rihanna.
We Found Love.
We Found Love.
Which ironically I just actually put as our Pristine second birthday.
Yeah, I thought
song.
so.
I didn't put it. It was with the real template thing, so I just left it. But yeah.
Such a hypocrite.
Wouldn't want that. I don't mind it. I wouldn't want it on the dance floor. So there's like certain songs. American Boy, hate that song.
Yeah, I didn't like that one either.
Literally, I have to leave the dance floor. I don't know why it makes me really angry, but everyone's got certain songs that give you the ick, and I don't think you should have them played at your wedding.
Yeah, if you don't like them.
Yeah, exactly. So I just made that.
But that wasn't the bit that I disagreed with. It was the bit that where you were like, yeah, I think they asked for our civil wedding, we had Ritzy, and they had a form that we had to fill in about the different songs that we wanted, or like just so they could get a vibe of what we wanted. And they meant, I'm pretty sure it said like 5 or 6 songs. You put about 25 songs there. 25 songs, that's like 3 minutes each. That's like 75 minutes. That's like an hour and 15 minutes worth of music that you're telling them to play. The dancing's only about 2 hours or 3 hours. You basically just told them all the music to play.
Yeah, well, I wanted my songs to play. Obviously needed a little bit of Beyonce in there.
Maybe you should just got an iPad and plugged it in.
I actually think I'd be a good DJ. Not a great MC, because I think I wouldn't be able to like do the deep voice and be like, make the sound effects. But I think I'd be a good DJ. And there's not enough.
The sound effects aren't made by his voice. That's the.
No, I mean those sound effects. When when they go like, yeah, like those.
Sorry, keep going.
But you know what I mean? They're like, not grunts. I don't know what it is, but if there are any MC people listening to this, please can you give me the correct terminology? But I actually feel there's not enough female DJs, so I'd love to see more female wedding DJs out there.
Have we seen any? At a wedding?
No.
I saw a sick one the other day, but that wasn't at a wedding. That was at
I see them at like rooftop bars. I see
cool.
them at boozy brunches. Don't see them at weddings. I don't know why. Big gap in the market. So if you are a female DJ, definitely would break into that. I feel like we're almost at the end of this episode and haven't even like got into anything. But I think the main things, like I said, to ask them would be then, just to summarize, do they come with a host? What do they play? Do they have any experience playing any of the cultural music that you said? Have they worked at your venue before?
And also, can they be there for a ceremony?
Yeah. Can they be there for the ceremony and drinks reception and reception? They'll probably charge you more, but it actually usually works out being more cost effective to do that than have a separate team, because then you're paying for extra travel and things. Another thing to note is if your venue does have a sound limiter, which we're not fans of, we can really tell the difference most of the time.
I don't think anyone's a fan of a sound limiter.
No, but I mean,
venue, baby.
Some people are a bit indifferent, whereas I feel like we can really tell. Yeah. We're like, oh God, this sounds quiet. So if you have one, speak to the venue, find out what the maximum decibel is, and then tell that to your DJ so that they're aware of it and can plan accordingly. Because you don't want your music going off and it just being really awkward and silent afterwards.
Yeah. We didn't even get a chance to talk about anything. Time flies.
Yeah, I know. So we're going to have to do a part 2 of this, really.
Yeah, we need to talk about like dolls and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Lots of type of. Okay, fine. We're going to have to carry this on the next episode. But hopefully that's a good intro into music and DJs as a starting point, and we'll continue next episode. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening.
Please like, follow, subscribe for more.